record mode. And so I want to go and start at the top here. Start at the top. And I want you to see that, first of all, you're going to have the AP Secure browser installed into your computers. And I'm going to post the how to do that, and you guys are actually going to take a practice test on AP Classroom so that I can see who's already done it. Hear me right now. When my daughter had to do this for another class on the computer that is at my house, with me and my husband, who are both extremely tech savvy, that it took an hour for us to get it to work, because there was a Chrome extension that records the screen, and that had to be uninstalled, and you had to use Firefox, not Chrome. So we had to download Firefox. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous on how long it took to do that. So I want you to all have that uploaded into your computers and able to use the secure browser well before we go to exam day. So the exam day actually changed to May 21st instead of the 14th, and that it will be for everyone in the world at 2 p.m. Now hear me, that's like 2 a.m. in China. And they're not having a separate test. They're doing it all at once. And so those kids have to wake up, any kid taking the exam, and make sure that they are awake and functional to write a DBQ. So you will have you'll have 5 documents and 45 minutes. And so remember, one of those documents is going to be a picture or a graph. Most likely. I mean, they didn't guarantee that to us, but I can't imagine that they're going to make you read 5 full documents in just that small amount of time. The one thing that I would like to encourage you is to take the exam on a computer and not a phone, because you won't be able to flip back and forth from the document to your writing area on a phone. It will be very difficult. So you'll have 45 minutes and then like a 5-minute upload time. The point for thesis hasn't changed, right? As long as you answer the question. I'm going to tell you that 3 groups is not necessary with 5 documents. You probably are not going to get 3 groups, so I don't want you to stress out about that. 2 groups will be fine, but make sure those 2 groups directly answer the question. So that's going to be your thesis. Your contextualization, people, hear me, in that you will be able to look at the time frame of this document of these documents, and be able to have your notes open, or your notebook open, your vocab open, and look at the time frame and see what was going on around that time. No, my camera's not on. Stop, I'm recording. And you should be able to quickly do some kind of contextualization. But remember how contextualization has to be more than around the time of this is what's going on. Like, you have to explain the connection to why that contextualization helps you answer into your thesis. So contextualization is what's going on around the prompt, right? It's that big historical context around it. That's the same. So evidence has changed a little bit, where before you had to have 3 documents to answer the prompt. this time, to get 1 point, you only need to use 2 documents. People hear me. You should use all 5 documents, right? Like, using all 5 documents is not a problem. That will get you actually 1 point. It's the support your argument in response to the prompt using 5 documents. You see, you can get 3 full points. This is different. Like, before, it was only 2 points. You either used them or you supported the argument. Now you can use them, support the argument, but then if you get to 4 documents, you can get another point. Remember, supporting the argument is deploying the evidence, right? Like that's having a document and doing your, which everybody will do because they haven't been trained well enough. Document 2 says this, but you've got to use what it says to help support the argument, the topic sentence above it. You guys are set up so beautifully in being able to outshine the rest of everybody. I mean, like, I think the number of 5 kids right now, you in this room, the number of 5s could be astronomical for Suncoast because you've practiced this already. I know we haven't practiced it in a month, but we're going to practice that when we get to our review projects. So the easiest point, I think, that you will be able to get, only because you have your notebooks or your book open, is your evidence beyond the docs, right? You're going to use one additional piece of specific historical evidence beyond what's in the doc. Like, if you do that, you can actually get 2 points for that. What? 2 points? It was 1 point before, now it's 2 points? That's crazy, because that's 2 just bonus points for you because you have your thing. So, like, let's say a document is around 1780, and it doesn't say anything about a revolution or anything that's going on, and you clearly see a connection from that document into, let's say, the American Revolution, that document and the way that it's set up is meant for you to say, oh, hey, look, I know that's talking about the American Revolution. You know, they're breaking away with independence, and that alone can get you 2 points this year. It's so good. It's so good. So I said that wrong. You have to actually have 2 different pieces of additional evidence. So that's fine, right? Like, we're good with that. We get it too. All right, so going on to analysis and reasoning. So before, remember, I made you do 4 in class of sourcings, and the College Board only made you do 3. This time, you only have to do 2. Do you see it? It's 1. You get 1 point for doing one and 1 point for another. So really, I think that one of the things that we should really focus on, especially when we're doing our review projects and we're doing our quizzing on our review projects, would be taking a passage and saying what's the author's, like, source this document, and have 4 options of the way that it was sourced and, like, how to get that sourcing point. And so I really think that it's something that we should practice a lot of between now and then. Remember, you guys have your textbooks, and your textbooks have reading passages in it. You can just practice doing that. All right, so the last point that you're going to get is for complexity. People, I think that because of time, if you focus on your sourcing, your evidence beyond the docs, right, that's 4 points right there. Thesis is 1 point. Contextualization is another point. And then using your evidence, you could be at a 9 out of 10 without even worrying about complexity. But if you found a counter argument within the documents that would lend itself beautifully to having complexity and the complexity point. So I really, I don't want to focus horribly on that complexity point, but I would really want you to try to have a counter argument. It's going to be difficult in the time frame allotted, right? So what does this mean for you guys? Well, first of all, let me turn the chat back on and ask you if you have any other questions. So let me turn the chat back on. Hold on. It's so funny to do it without a, all right, here we go. So do I know how the points will translate to our AP score? I do not, but I don't know the answer to that, Brock, right? Yeah, Parker, it will be built in because you have it on your My AP Classroom. So the big thing will just be for you to watch that timer for that. So I don't know what number will translate to a 5, but I bet you like 8 or 9 translates to a 5. And then like a 6 or 7 would translate to a 4. And then a 5 and 4 will probably translate to a 3. So, I mean, you really need to nail the easy ones, like the evidence beyond the docs for 2 of them. And remember, you have to tie that back to the prompt. Like, you can't just go, oh, it's the American Revolution, without tying it back into how that's relevant to your argument, right? So that's going to be a big deal. So Arush, I think the basic answer to how many points do we need to pass the exam is going to be 5. But I can't guarantee that. What they have told us is that I will be able to see what you write as soon as you write it. So I should be able to grade it depending on what you have. I would just beg you to look at the what not to do in your notebook, right? We're not going to use the word documents. We're not going to say a document said. The way we trained you is going to rise you above the masses. And that alone should help you score higher because of the way that you've been trained. How are you guys doing? How do you feel right now? Like, how many of you feel that you could nail this? You can totally pass. If you guys want to just raise your hand with that, that's great. Okay. Well, Mason, honestly, I think that it's not easier than a 7 document because 7 documents just lends itself to being able to group into an argument better. I think that the 5, like I would just caution you to like make sure that you've grouped 2 documents and 3 documents, or you could go 2, 2, and 2 when you find the one that has double meaning to it, to have your arguments and your lovely groupings. So those of you that didn't raise your hand, what's your hang up? What are you worried about? Jack, I agree with that. And I think that that's why they're lenient on the part where it says like the evidence that you have to have 2 documents supporting an argument to get 2 points there, right? You use the 2 and then you support the argument, you deploy it, that's going to be why. So Thurston, with connection and contextualization, we can do some practice with that. Well, Marina, we need to work on that, right? Like that's got to be something that you practice between now and then. So with that being said, I'm going to just, go ahead. Right, but sourcing again, Tyga, that it's 2 points, right? So if you didn't do tech sourcing and your complexity, then you're still sitting at a 7, right? Like, but sourcing helps with you deploying the evidence from the document. So it's talking about why somebody wrote something at that time and place, their purpose, or who they're writing it to, the audience, or why does the audience matter to why their words are saying. That's going to be something that you will use to help with your evidence and deploying that to having you to support your argument. All right, so could we make a checklist for sourcing? Absolutely. I mean, like, think about your blue sheet that we could do. I mean, I would never tell you to do a blue sheet on exam day because you don't have time to do that. But you could do a checklist with that. Okay, I got a thesis, I got top context, I know that I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 just right across the top of your paper. And as you use them and support your argument, topic sentences, that you cross those off. Yeah. So I'm relying on you guys to have your review projects instead of the SAQ, which you guys have to think about it. I normally give the SAQs because that's the part where we learn those first and we haven't practiced those, and we have to practice those before your exam. Well, now that it's not an SAQ, taking that out of your project and making you actually develop a 5-question prompt and practice that prompt is actually going to help everybody. So the way that I see this is that there's 7 reviews for period 0, 1, 2. There's 7 reviews for period 3 and 4. And there's 7 reviews for period 5 and 6. So you have so many opportunities to practice that. Here's the rub. I'm not requiring you to go to all 7 of them. I'm only going to require you to go to 1 of them. Right? 1 out of 7. You have to hit a live time slot somewhere from 1 to 7 on each one of those. And you can't just watch the recording of it. You have to join. And you have to be active in taking the quiz and writing the essay. So if you want, you could attend the first one for 0, 1, 2, 3, and then attend like the third one for 0, 1, 2, 3, and take the quiz and the DBQ for that, and make it so that you are practicing as many times as possible. All of them should be different. There should not be one group that has the same DBQ as the next group. How are we doing right now?